folks, Talkin' Baseball is back. This is our 5th season, first episode. We've been renewed, and we're probably the longest running show on Channel 9.
We are in the Channel 9 Hall of Fame, I guess.
I'm Pete Lincoln.
I'm Jason Smith.
Jason Smith, my cohort here.
And we want to thank all of you for watching us, even if it's your first episode watching or you've been through us with all 5 seasons. You know, we're the reason. You're the reason we do this. We want to reach out to fans and get discussion going, and anything Red Sox worthy, come to us. We will be happy to take up a topic of yours you'd like to discuss. Anything but a big thank you to our Channel 9 audience.
And we're coming off a great season of the Red Sox. All-time season. Remarkable season.
We are.
119 wins?
119 wins when you total in
wins.
The regular season and the playoffs, and shattered the team record for wins in a season. And I really hope that people appreciate just how remarkable this season was. Go look in the baseball book and see how many teams have won 108 games in a regular season. It's not many.
Not many.
Not many at all. That's winning 2/3 of your games. That's incredible.
So, we have an announcement to make before we start the show.
Yes, to get everyone in the spirit of the season.
On April 7th, that's a Sunday, from 2:30 to 4:30, 2 days before the Red Sox open at home, the Red Sox 2018 World Series trophy will be on display at the Eagle House on Memorial Drive in Lunenburg. The trophy, right here, we have what the trophy looks like, and people will be invited for a $5 donation to come and take their picture with the trophy.
Bring your camera.
Bring your cameras.
You can take pictures with your phone. You can bring the whole family. You can pose in front of the trophies. I don't think you can touch it. I think that's the only thing. So,
Red Sox historian Gordon Eads will be there to talk baseball.
Yeah.
I suppose he's going to have some trivia questions for everyone.
We're barred from that probably, right? I don't think we can do that.
But it's a chance to see the trophy that they won. It's been touched by all the Red Sox players, held up through the parades, been taken to Puerto Rico, and taking around the state now so people can see what they've won all this time. It's a nice chance to go out and touch a little part of history, and a great way to start the baseball season.
Because, as we always say, you never know when it's going to happen again. You never know. So we're hoping that gets everyone into the spirit of baseball. Even though spring training has started and games have been on NESN and ESPN, it's just sort of a little way to kick off let's hope it's the next lap of a repeat.
So again, that's April 7th. It's a Sunday from 2:30 to 4:30 at the Eagle House on Memorial Drive in town.
Come on, check it out. We'll be there. Gordon will be there. So we'll have some good company.
Something else we thought we'd like to promote before the show starts. We get into the theories of the show. Yeah. 2 books have come out since this season.
Sure. So this is the first book called A Win for Every Stitch. Now, if you don't know, just by coincidence, a baseball has 108 stitches. And that's how many wins the Red Sox had last year. And this is written by Drew Athens, who is a member of the Red Sox Nation Facebook page. And he wrote a game-by-game chronicle of the 2018 season. And it's great to run through it. It sort of jogs your memory on some games you might have forgotten about. And, during the season, we always tend to overreact game to game. And it's fun to look back and say, oh my God, and then you look back and say, oh yeah, I guess that was just a 1-game sample. I guess that really wasn't a problem, was it? Remember how everyone was all flipped out on opening day about how the bullpen was going to be horrible and the team's downfall, and it was hardly that. So again, A Win for Every Stitch. It's available on Amazon, and definitely worth the read, especially since it's fresh in your mind from last year. Definitely worth picking up.
It's almost like a blog. This fellow, after every single game, he didn't watch them all, but he would go and tape them and watch them afterwards.
And reactions.
And just write down what happened and his reaction to it. It's great.
And of course there's always questioning moves and this player and that player, which that's part of being a fan. It's questioning moves and analyzing this and that, but it's a great read. Definitely go pick it up.
The second is called Domination. And it was a book that the Red Sox put out, and it's written by Gordon Eads and filled with some phenomenal photographs. Here's a picture, for instance, of the Red Sox parade inside, as you can see.
Yeah, incredible
A
pictures.
shot taken of the fans during the parade.
Yeah.
You can see it here.
Mhm.
And it's just a great keepsake. All the great plays, the two-page spread of Benintendi's catch, for instance, all the players just wallowing in their success at the end. A gorgeous, gorgeous book. And it also is available on Amazon or the Red Sox line, too.
Yep.
So if you're a collector, as we are, of memorabilia, you can't go wrong with either of these items.
Yeah, some great bedside reading. If you're like me and your mind runs a million miles an hour all the time, you need to wind down when you get into bed at night. Just do a chapter a night before you fall asleep. It's great stuff.
Now, we're going to continue our tradition of trivia questions.
Ah, yes, back to business.
Baseball fans, especially at trivia, there's no other sport where statistics and facts are consumed by the quantity by baseball.
And not only consumed, picked apart, and analyzed, and listed, and you name it.
In fact, in the last few years since sabermetric's come in,
Oh.
it's just almost beyond the comprehension of the average fan.
Yeah, there are some stats that even I don't understand, to be honest with you. I just sort of, I throw my hands up and say, you figure that out.
To me, exit velocity is how fast you can get out of school in the afternoon.
Yeah, or how fast I get to the car after work,
That's
right?
what they used to be to me.
Or exit velocity, how fast can I get my 6-year-old in the car? That's exit velocity, which is not very quick. So
we all know now it's the speed the ball leaves the bat.
right,
You know.
and J.D. Martinez has been a disciple of that. He credits that with his homer. So hey, they let them figure it out. We're just here as fans, and we're passing everything on to you in terms of trivia. So we have a great question.
So here's
for
our
today.
question. I think this was the answer is somewhat obvious in a way for Red Sox fans, but I think it would stump most people. The All-Star Game began in 1933. Originally just an exhibition game, but except for a couple of years when the strikes were on, and in some years where there are 2 All-Star Games, there have been All-Star Games now for almost 90 years. In that time, name a person who won a batting title for either league who never appeared in an All-Star Game.
There's only one.
Only one.
Only one.
You know, batting champions obviously they're All-Stars.
Mhm.
There's one fellow who won a batting title for the league
And never was in an
never
All-Star
in
game.
the All-Star Game.
So mull that over as always while we're chatting, and hopefully you can figure it out. As we said, as for a Red Sox fan, that might point you in the right direction. So
It's not Ted Williams.
no, it's not. No, it's not Wade Boggs. So there's a lot of off-season news, and I wanted to sort of just throw it out there like we did last time. As we announced a few shows ago, I'm an admin for a Facebook page called Red Sox Nation. Come and join. It's great baseball discussion. We do have a few group rules that you have to read when you join, but there's nothing too major. And it's just a great way to reach out to other fans. And it makes you appreciate, it's not just Red Sox Nation, it's Red Sox Global. We have fans in every country you could think of who are
How
part of
many
this
fans
group.
do you have on that site now?
21,000.
Wow.
And they come from all over the globe. In fact, there are a couple of huge fans in England who are ecstatic that the Red Sox are going to be there this year, so they can finally see the Red Sox in person.
I hope they're wealthy.
Yeah, yeah. Don't go looking for the prices online. You can't afford them. So all you do is just find the Facebook page, ask them to join as a member. You fill out the questionnaire, and you're good to go. And it's just great discussion. It's good to see. Sometimes we get caught up in our own heads about how we perceive the team, and it's great to have other viewpoints and other advantages and other people who look at things other ways.
Well, this off-season has been absorbed by the talk of Harper and Machado.
Which is a huge
Absorbed.
discussion point.
Partly because it took so long to sign them.
No, they didn't sign till late February, early March.
And so
even.
they started talking about it full-time about August.
Mhm.
So that's 6 months of those names over and over again. We think he's going to go here. Somebody says he's going here. Please come here. Over and over and over again. And finally, and you knew they were going to sign for a lot of money.
Of course.
Because that's what the market eventually would command.
Mhm.
And a lot of the players, like, say, Adam Jones or Cargo, never mentioned in all this. It still hasn't been signed.
Yeah, Dallas Keuchel won a Cy Young. Kimbrel's still out there, of course.
But when they were signed, some people were just outraged at the money they make.
They're apoplectic.
Outraged by it.
How can a person make this much money? That's insane.
No one needs $300 million. Well, folks, it's a business.
Yes, it is.
And it's a business that pays the best of the top ball players.
Of course.
Now, here's a for instance. I'm not going to watch any more ball games because they make too much money.
Yeah.
Well, last year, George Clooney, in 1 year, made $240 million. That's 7 or 8 seasons worth of ball players.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go to the movies anymore because
Right.
George Clooney did that?
Right.
Or my favorite one is Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg is worth $1 billion now.
Yeah.
One of the richest people in the world. You're going to stop using Facebook?
Yeah.
You're on Facebook to complain about everything else, so you are doing that.
You are doing that. And by the way, not to keep it global, if you're on Facebook, you're already in the wealthiest third of people in the world. So you really can't cry poor if you're on Facebook anyway. But another example, last year, Kiss did a tour. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley made $30 million apiece on a tour last year. They're entertainers. But that's what the market commands. That's what entertainment sells for. So when you talk about entertainers making too much money, it's a simple thing, and it sounds cold and it sounds ruthless, but it's a business,
right.
And it comes down to supply and demand. Actually, I'm gonna use a little quote from Bull Durham here, because there were people talking about, why don't these people play for the love of the game? Well, players have been paid to play since the 1860s. Okay. It's a business, and the players are in a union. And I think Bull Durham put it best. Baseball may be a religion full of magic, cosmic truth, and the fundamental ontological riddles of our time, but it's a job. It is a job to these people. And they're in the top millionth of a % in the world at what they do.
Right.
So it's supply and demand. So when you talk about, the blue-collar worker doesn't get enough, well, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of blue-collar workers. There's one Manny Machado.
Right.
There's one Bryce Harper. Supply and demand. That's what it is, folks. It's a business. And I hate to bust anybody's bubble about, that's not really what we're trying to do here.
And to be a little bit facetious, if you say $200 million is too much money, I hope you've never bought a Powerball ticket, because that could be you.
Right. Yes.
And if you win, I guarantee you should give it back.
Yeah, sure. Right. But that's what it is. It's a business, and it's about what the market commands.
Okay.
And it's love it or hate it. That's the way it is.
Okay. So, well, this is going to be something we're going to try to do for the rest of the year.
Yes, this is fun.
We've always had some, in fact we did 2 or 3 shows on this. The Hall of Fame in baseball has become quite a crowded place. It used to be a nice little village, now it's turning into an urban sprawl. Mm-hmm. Several people are added to it every year. And this past year, a couple of people we didn't think really had the credentials have been added to it. So we decided to make what we're going to call the Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame. The Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame.
And you can play along at home with this too, because you may agree or disagree with us.
And what this is going to involve is you are in the Hall of Fame by your position, not by overall credentials, but by the position. You have to be in the top 5 players at your position, and that's it.
Yeah.
So the total number of people are going to be 8 position players, left-handed and right-handed pitchers. That's 50.
50 players.
50 players. That's all that will be in the Hall of Fame.
And we did from 1950 to present for a few reasons. First of all, before 1950 there was no integration.
That's the key one.
That's a key one.
So you weren't playing against the best players.
Yeah, there was really no relief pitchers before 1950. So the idea of a starting pitcher's role has changed so dramatically since the game has started that it wasn't really fair to compare starting pitchers across different eras.
There were no night games.
No night games.
And no travel west of St. Louis.
Yeah.
So the game today is a different game, and just to indicate my age, I have seen all the players since 1950.
Right. I have not, obviously.
So I can recall actually seeing how they played and as they went along, what their credentials were. So we've attempted to go position by position and pick what we've decided are the top 5 players ever since 1950 to play those positions. They're going to a Hall of Fame. There's 50 people. Now, there's one caveat to this. Once these people have been selected, you can still break into the Hall of Fame But it has to be a player, even if he's still playing, that has played at least 10 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or when he retires.
Mm-hmm.
When he enters that position's Hall of Fame, he can enter at any spot in it, because we're going to rank them 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
So a player can come in, say, at number 3.
Right.
We'd use Trout as an example.
Right, because Mike Trout will probably be there.
Could likely break as one of the best center fielders. If he comes in, say, at number 3, 3, 4, and 5 move down, and that means that number 5 is omitted.
He's bumped out.
He's bumped out.
You only have 50 spots to choose
50
from.
spots, that's all we've got. So you maintain, so people can always go to Mount Rushmore and see the classic. Just like they don't change the faces on the real Mount Rushmore, they don't add, somebody, Eisenhower, somebody later on.
And the player had to play the majority of his career at that position. So we just ran into a problem because the position we're going to do, somebody like Paul Molitor isn't going to be on the list, because he pretty much split down the middle, third base and DH with his career.
Pete Rose even more so.
Right, Pete Rose too.
5 positions, all 5 he played about 800 games.
Right.
So he doesn't qualify.
He doesn't have a majority of a position somewhere.
Okay.
So
we're going to rank them 1 through 5, as I said, so that there's, if someone does come in, the lowest one would go out.
So today we decided to start with our third baseman. So, and this is a position you would be surprised how few third basemen there are to choose from. 1950 to present is 68 seasons, 69 seasons actually.
Right.
And there were really only 6, maybe 7 you could legitimately make an argument for. We sort of agreed on. Cutting the 6 or 7 down to 5 was hard, but the drop-off after the first 6 or 7 is immense. And you would think that there would be a lot more people at that position who are Hall of Fame worthy. That's not the case at all, which is really surprising.
Also a shortstop and second base.
Yes.
Somehow the middle infielders, maybe it's because they rarely have a long career.
I think their bodies break down a little easier. Yes.
To play. But if you go through the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, those are the 3 positions that are the fewest. Catchers, maybe 2.
Yeah, catchers don't have
But
many.
the number of first basemen and outfielders and pitchers is enormous. And that's where we're going to have to do some serious pairing.
Yep. Yeah. So the outfielders and pitchers are going to be an issue.
We decided to start with the easier positions.
Yeah. This is ease our way into it and your way into it too.
There's not so many choices.
So do you want to go 1 through 5 or 5 through 1?
Let's start at the top.
Start at the top. Okay. Because we agreed on our number 1 pick, and I don't think there's any question at all about who should be number 1. You can take it.
We did this independently. So we each picked what we thought would. In fact, I went down through listed about top 12, but obviously several of those don't have a chance. And the factors you take in, we didn't figure about exit velocity.
No.
We didn't figure out wins above replacement. We went pretty much by the good old stats of at-bats, games played, runs scored, home runs, base hits, and average. And in this case, the third base especially, Gold Gloves.
Gold Gloves.
Because that's usually what they call a hot corner. That's the key position to play in the infield.
Right. And which makes it kind of hard because everyone knows the Gold Glove system is not perfect. I mean, remember the season Palmeiro played 30 games and won a Gold Glove. Defensive metrics, even in the last 20 years, have come into play, but they're still trying to figure out a perfect way to judge defense.
Right.
So Gold Gloves are sort of what you have to go by when it gets even into the 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s.
Well, it's actually the same with a Silver Slugger.
Sure.
How did J.D. Martinez win a Silver Slugger in the outfield this year?
Right. Yeah. That was a good call.
He played 60 games out there.
So Gold Gloves are sort of what we have to go by on defense. Whether it's not a perfect system, but obviously we didn't see Brooks Robinson play every game, but whatever. Okay. So. Anyway, so our number 1 is, take it,
Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt played for the Phillies for 18 seasons, and he was a remarkable ball player in that he wasn't a especially big guy. He wasn't noted for any kind of, I can't think of anything that he said or was involved in anything, kind of, I won't say colorless, but playing for a team that it was pretty good most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, they did win a World Series when he was there.
And I can't think of any iconic moment that he was involved in.
No, he had a strong postseason when he was there, but nothing. He didn't have his Bill Mazeroski moment or anything like that.
He played 2,212 games at third base, which was the 6th most of any player ever. But he had 548 home runs.
That's astounding.
For an infielder,
That is
548 home was remarkable.
That's astounding.
His lifetime average is only 267, but it's the number of power hitters that just is just not matched.
Yeah, and the thing is about Schmidt, I think at the time he was almost underappreciated because now we talk about the 3 true outcomes, walk, strikeout, homer. He was a 3 true outcome guy in the 70s. Before that was even a big deal. So he had a ton of walks. He led the league in walks 7 or 8 times. He struck out a ton too. That's the only knock you can say about him. But his on-base percentage is unbelievable when you factor in all the walks. Listen, now, we talk about his homers and his power and his offense. He also won 10 Gold Gloves.
That's right.
He was an absolutely complete player, both sides of the ball. And I don't want to get too much into crazy stats, but listen to this. From 80 to 84, in this 5-year stretch, he led the league in homers 4 times, RBIs 3 times, walks 3 times, on-base percentage 4 times, and won 5 Gold Gloves. That's right up there with Ruth and Bonds for dominance in a 5-year stretch in the game. He was not only the best, he was the best at everything in the game for that 5-year stretch. It's astounding.
At the end of this whole project, we'll have an all-star team.
Yes,
the number one at each position.
Yeah.
And I think he's certainly, I wouldn't mind having him hitting clean up.
No, and I don't think there's any debate that he's the best shortstop since best third baseman since 1950. I don't think there's any way you can argue that. So below number 1,
okay.
We agreed on the players, but maybe the rankings might be a little flip-flop, but we pretty much agreed on who should stay in the top
Why don't you read your other rankings and I'll do mine and we'll see how we can...
Oh, sure, okay. So, the rest of mine, I had George Brett at number 2. Should I just name them all and then we'll discuss?
Yeah.
Okay. I had Brooks Robinson as 3, Adrian Beltre as 4, and Wade Boggs as 5.
And did you have a 6th?
And I gave an honorable mention 6th to Chipper Jones.
Okay.
He was the one, if I had to pick 5, he was the one I was going to leave off. I debated Eddie Matthews, but he didn't quite have the longevity of anybody else on this list.
Okay. Well, I had Brooks Robinson 2nd. I had Adrian Beltre 3rd also, so we agreed on that.
Mm-hmm.
I had Chipper Jones 4th, George Brett 5th, and Wade Boggs 6th. And since I've done this, I've had a lot of doubts about it. George Brett had iconic moments. For
yes, he
one
did.
Yes, he had a lot of iconic moments. The problem with George Brett is he only played 1,600 games actually at third base, and he had 3,154 hits. I don't know how many of those, though, were as a third base.
We'd have to break it down.
And his lifetime average was 305, which is also great. So I could see maybe dropping him down. The problem with Wade Boggs, I'll take each one as a go through. Okay, Beltre also had no iconic moment, but talk about steady.
And the funny thing about Beltre, he actually was better in his 30s than his 20s. He was a better player as he went on.
He was almost always a third baseman.
Always, yep. And he never was injured. He played until the last year of his career, I think he finally went on the DL. He had like a 15-year stretch without being on the disabled list.
2,759 games played, second only to Brooks Robinson, the number of games played there. 3,166 hits. 477 home runs, a 286 average. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. Don't touch his head, but he'll be an absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer.
Some of you people may not know, you couldn't stand to have his head touched. Some people like Victor Martinez would torment him.
Oh yeah, he'd walk by and rub his head and just watch him jump away. So Adrian Beltre, absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer, and again, strong on both sides of the ball. People were still, even in his late 30s, people were talking about what a plus defender he was at third base.
Five-time Gold Glover. Then, well, Chipper Jones also did not play all his time. He had 1,992 games at third, 468 homers, 309 average.
Great.
That's great.
That's great. I'll run through mine too after you run through yours and give pros and cons.
George Brett had a 305 average, as I said, but he only played 1,692 games. But Brooks Robinson was one I ranked second. Mm-hmm. I just think Brooks Robinson he had the most games played there, and 16 Gold Gloves.
That's astounding.
16 Gold Gloves.
I think they were consecutive too, weren't they? Weren't they 16 in a row?
And it was no fluke. And I can remember in the '69 World Series, especially. Yes, I remember the '69 World Series. He personally defeated the Mets. No, he didn't. The Mets lost.
The Orioles lost.
But his plays were, and that in the '73 was the other World Series.
73.
His World Series fielding was hard to believe.
And this was later in his career. I think 55 was his rookie year, I believe. So he was very well into his career at that point and still making plays.
That's right. So to me, he's like Mr. Third Base in some ways. So I want to include him somewhere in this list.
Yeah. I did too. And see, I had him as fourth, and maybe it's because I never personally saw him play. Maybe that might factor into why I had. But he also had over 2,800 hits. So when you factor in, he might be the best defensive third baseman ever. And he didn't quite get that magical 3,000 hit, but 2,800 that's still a heck of a lot of hits.
Yeah.
That's still he didn't quite have the power or the ribbies. He had 3 good, really good years where he was the top 3 of the MVP. But, and so he had some power and RBIs those years. But overall, it was steady, more than eye-popping. But you're right, he absolutely should be on any third base list.
I didn't check this, but he was playing in an era, like with Mark Belanger at shortstop, where the infielders weren't expected to be power hitters.
No.
Frank Robinson was the power hitter.
Yes, he was.
Team,
Yes.
They didn't need to have the infielders. He hit 268 home runs. But he wasn't noted for his power. He was noted for his consistency.
Right, he was.
Came out and played. It's like Cal Ripken going out and play all the ball games.
Year in, year out.
Mr. Consistency.
Every game.
I didn't check this either. I think he played in almost 20 All-Star games.
I believe yes, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I think he was an All-Star every year until like the last year or two of his career.
And, just Mr. Solid at third. So tell me something about what you had.
So I had Brett a little bit higher, and this is kind of what sold me on Brett. I know he didn't have as many games there as some of the other people, but he had 3,000 hits, 300 homers, and hit for a career 300 average. You know who the only 3 players other than him to do that are? Mays, Musial, and Aaron. That's a pretty elite group to have accomplished that, and that kind of sold me on why he should be a little bit higher, and also something that's a little tough for us to fathom nowadays. He also won a batting crown in 3 different decades. He's the only one ever to do that, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But in this age of the 3 true outcomes, chew on these stats for a second. He never struck out more than 75 times in his season in his career.
Wow.
And he never struck out more than 51 times until he hit age 37. Imagine that nowadays.
That's an old-time ball player.
Right, yeah. Nowadays when people are striking out 200 times in a season and not thinking anything of it, it's part of the game. He struck out less than 50 times almost every year in his career. That's amazing to me. So that's why I had him a little bit higher. And we talked about Adrian Beltre at third. Brooks Robinson, like I said, I also had fourth, and we just ran through a lot of his accomplishments. So I had Boggs at fifth. And I know he's sort of a persona non grata among some Red Sox fans because he went to the Yankees. Big deal. Don't care. That's not what we're judging him on. And I don't think, and again, just like Mike Schmidt, he didn't play in an era where walks were really appreciated. He led the league in walks a ton. His on-base percentage numbers are really incredible. I mean, he had a .328 career average, and his on-base percentage was .415 for his career. Think about all those walks that he had.
I think he had 7 consecutive seasons of 200 hits.
He did, yes, 7 in a row. Yeah. And he did have 2 Gold Gloves. Yeah. And he was, remember, he's always pointed to as an example of someone who worked hard to create, because when he first came up, the knock on him was his defense. Right. And he worked really hard to make himself a good defender. He prided himself on that. And so late in his career, I think he was with the Yankees at that point, actually, when he won 2 Gold Gloves. But he did it. And so he also won 5 batting titles in 6 years when he was with the Red Sox. Think about that. I mean, you're never going to see that again. But I think he's almost underrated by Red Sox fans because, you know, he had a little bit of a scandal when he played with the team, and like I said, he went to the Yankees, and he was never he never had a cuddly personality or anything like that. But if you're talking just on the on-field accomplishments, he absolutely is one of the best third basemen since 1950. Absolutely.
Only he and Beltre have 3,000 hits.
Yes, they're the only ones.
Only 2.
So so we pretty much agree on who should be there. It's just a matter of where they should be ranked. So like I said, it's pretty easy to come up with the 7. It's just where do you put them after Schmidt becomes the argument. So we hope, I don't know if you agree out there in TV land, maybe you can give us a counter argument to what we'd come up with.
So what are we going to do now?
So
who are we going to drop?
Who are we going to drop?
Yep.
Boy, like I said, I left out Chipper Jones, and that was a really, really hard call because of the offense. He was the only one who really didn't have any defensive accolades. Yeah. And that was finally why I made him number 6.
Yeah, he had no gold gloves.
He had no gold gloves, and later in his career, he sort of had, that was a knock that he was a little too old to be playing third base, and that's not to demean his accomplishments. He absolutely should be a Hall of Famer. He was just the one that was a cut below the rest, I thought.
Okay.
Just me.
Well, I think I probably can go along with you.
Yeah.
These are 6 great guys.
Yeah, they really are. You can't go wrong with any of these.
And I think
players.
I looked up a couple of times who the websites would rank, and none of them included Beltre because he was still playing.
He was still active. He just retired last year.
Looking over his statistics, he's as good as anybody else.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I didn't realize he won 5 gold gloves.
He did. Yeah, and even late, like we said, late in his career, he was always the standard for third base defense.
And I think I had Brett down at 5th. I might even move him up. I might agree. Mm-hmm. Not just because of the pine tar.
Yeah. That was his iconic moment.
About an iconic moment. They play that over and over and over. But he was. We like to talk about an all-star as someone who's feared. Mm-hmm. He said, I don't want to face this guy. Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
He was the most feared player on that Kansas City.
Oh, absolutely. And people forget, the Royals teams, when he was with them, the Royals were a really good team. The late 70s, early 80s Royals teams were excellent. And he was the heart of that team. Right. He was the cleanup hitter. He was the team leader. He was the face of the franchise. Wade Boggs used to call him Idol because he looked up to him so much. Now, that says a lot right there.
Okay, I think I'll buy that. I'll put him 2nd.
Okay.
I'll agree. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the quantity of time there, but his lifetime average is 305, and I'm sure a lot of that came from there. Mm-hmm. But he was, when you think of this batch of guys, he's the one, I think, of all of them who stands out most as the feared player, the leader of the team.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And a great spokesman for baseball.
And he was the face of the franchise. The times they made the postseason, I don't think he ever had a bad postseason, did he? He always was getting clutch hit after clutch hit. And even when the Royals won the World Series a few years ago, remember he was in the booth because he was like Mr. Royal. Yeah.
So, I have to say, though, I have to remember that he missed the World Series game because of his hemorrhoids.
Yeah, I do remember. Yes, that was not good.
That's not an iconic. What's the opposite of iconic moment?
A horrible moment, I think. So, yeah, we're never going to forget that one. But we'll forgive that one. So,
pretty funny. And I guess we agreed that Beltre could be 3rd.
Absolutely, yeah. Beltre should be.
Okay, so who would you put 5 and 6?
I said,
4 and 5.
I said I had Robinson as 4. You had him a little bit higher again.
Yeah.
I defer to you on that because I never personally saw him play, and that might be playing into my bias a little bit. I can only see on highlight films what he did. But like George Brett is Mr. Royal, he's Mr. Oriole.
Absolutely.
He is, when you go to Camden, he is still considered Mr. Oriole. And again, people forget because they're so terrible now, those Orioles teams were really good in the late 60s and early 70s. Even into the mid-70s, they were really good. So, boy, you can even make an argument for him 3rd instead of Beltre and put Beltre 4. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of these.
Okay, but we got to make a decision.
Okay,
we're carving the dragon on Mount Rushmore.
So carve him in at 4. I think we'll carve him in at 4.
And I think I agree with you with Boggs at 5.
Boggs at 5.
You know what Boggs did? He did what they should be doing now. He couldn't shift on Wade Boggs.
Yep. How many times as a left-handed hitter, he just slap it into left field right over the shortstop's head, out in between the left fielder and center fielder, and it was a single, but so what? He's on base.
There was one season where he didn't foul out once.
Yes, I remember that.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
He didn't foul out.
He didn't pop out for like
and so for a guy that's always flipping the ball the other way, you'd think he'd flip it.
No,
foul
but
out
he had this swing, and he would just kind of, it wasn't high, it was just, and it would,
we should have checked it out. I'll bet his strikeouts are low.
oh, I bet, it was almost like a tennis serve over the infield, that he would just poke it the other way, and an astounding amount of doubles off the wall, too. Always went the other way off the wall.
Made for Fenway. And then, of course, Yankee Stadium, same thing.
Absolutely.
Field there.
And actually, people forget, he was still really good when he was with the Yankees.
Right.
He made, like I said, he won 2 Gold Gloves, he made All-Star teams. He didn't win a batting title, but he was still hitting in the 320s when he was with the Yankees. And of course, probably what people remember most about him is when the Yankees won the series in '96, he's on the back of a horse with the cop going like this around Yankee Stadium. And of course, as Red Sox fans, we hated it. But so what? I mean, we've always said you can't hold the guy responsible for the laundry. No, so you can root against the laundry and you can't root against the play. That's 2 totally different things.
And he did have the highest lifetime average of any of these players.
Yes, he did. And it's one of the highest of anybody, period. Since 1950. Right. It's right at, I think it's in the top 5.
Yeah.
I know that.
Like, so he's 10 points at Ichiro.
Yeah, and think of how good Ichiro was. He was 10 points better than Ichiro. Right. So I think Chipper Jones is a strong 6. He's almost like a 5A. Yeah. 5A. But those are our top 5 Mount Rushmore third basemen.
Okay, so say them again.
So Schmidt, Brett, Beltre, Robinson, and Boggs with Chipper Jones just missing the cut.
Now, for anybody else that's really into third baseman, these are some other people who we were talking about. Greg Nettles had the 3rd most games played at third base ever.
Very underrated player.
2,412 with 390 homers. A good, solid player. He and Bill Lee didn't get along too well.
No.
So he was not exactly enamored with the Red Sox.
No, he wasn't Mr. Cuddly when he played.
And Gary Gaetti was another one.
Surprisingly, yes.
Anybody remember that he had 10 at-bats with the Red Sox at the end of his career?
And he retired after those 10 at-bats.
You know what his iconic moment was that I'll never forget? He started 2 triple plays against the Red Sox in the same game.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yep. And the Red Sox won the game.
1-0.
Yeah, 1-0. But 2 triple plays, and he started.
2 triple plays in the same game. He started the same play. Can you remember who hit into him?
Oh God, I don't even remember. That's a trivia question for another time.
Gedman was one.
Oh, Gedman! Oh, big surprise! Triple play.
I don't remember.
Yeah, the Sox in those days weren't exactly fleet of foot through the lineup. They really weren't.
Gary Gaetti.
But another one, like I said, I brought him up before. Eddie Matthews is one who just missed the cut. Dominant player in his early 20s, but he was pretty much done by age 33, and that was my knock on him. He wasn't dominant for as long as the rest of the guys on the list. And I know he's sort of Mr. Brave, actually. Yeah. He's actually, isn't he the only Brave that played in Milwaukee and Atlanta and Boston?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
He came up.
No.
I think his rookie year he might have been up for a cup of coffee.
Yes,
I never saw him play.
But he was with all 3 Braves locations, and he's probably a strong 7 for me, but not close to the other guys.
Most of the charts list him in the top 5.
Yeah,
512 home runs, and what else? His other remarkable thing that I remember, he's on the cover of the first Sports Illustrated.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Because County Stadium had just opened,
right?
And there's a picture of him batting in the August issue of 1954. Eddie Matthews hitting.
Yep. So but he just missed our cut.
Yeah. So, and then a couple others. Buddy Bell. Buddy Bell won 6 Gold Gloves, and he was the 7th most. Ron Santo.
Hall of Famer. Ron Santo.
Hall of Famer. Aramis Ramirez.
Yeah, surprisingly, yes. Very recent player.
Tim Wallach.
Yes, good old Tim Wallach with the...
And Scott Rowland.
Scott Rowland. Now, see, Scott Rowland is on the Hall of Fame ballot right now, and he's sort of one of these fringy guys who gets about 15%, just enough to stay on the ballot. And I think we as Red Sox fans don't appreciate him because he played most of his career in the National League. A lot with the Phillies and Cardinals. I think he was with the Angels for a couple of years, too, but we didn't see a lot of him.
He had the 3rd most Gold Gloves of any third baseman.
Yep,
8 Gold Gloves.
He was an offense and defensive blend. He's a very underrated player.
He had 281 for a career, 316 home runs. But these are the kind of people we're weeding out.
Right, exactly, yeah. Right. These are the people that didn't make the cut.
They're all great players, but they're not the greatest players. They're not going to be in granite.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do.
We're trying
to come up with the Hall of Fame.
The elite of the elite.
Permanent Hall of Fame. There's creme de la creme.
Yeah, these are absolute no-brainer Hall of Fame, should be in granite.
So you take your kids to the Hall of Fame, they don't keep changing and adding people. Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Remember him?
Yeah.
These are the people that you don't change Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
You're not going to change this mountain.
And I don't know that these 5 would change anytime soon. I don't really see any third baseman in the near future who are going to knock out any of those 5. I mean, who knows? Somebody may come out of the woodwork, but I think those 5 are pretty
next week
safe
we're
for a
going to
while.
have to talk about A-Rod.
Oh, yes, that'll be
Because
delightful.
he's split his career pretty much short and third.
Short and third,
Yeah.
so...
I think he's regarded more as a shortstop from that.
Well, there's another player who at shortstop who had a similar predicament, but we'll get into that next show.
Yeah, that's next show.
little teaser for next time.
We're going to go around the infield, then around the outfield, then pitchers. That's the way we'll... And hopefully this will take us right through until the next World Series.
The end of the season.
The Sox are playing, let's see who they're going to play this year. Brewers.
Oh, hey, that'd be good. The Brewers were 1 game away from making it last
Sox
year.
Brewers this World Series.
Speaking of, who picked the Brewers to almost win a pennant last year? And I talk about out of nowhere, but I think it's great when a team like that comes out and accomplishes a lot, though, because you get, as much as it's great for Red Sox fans, there are people in baseball who get tired of seeing the Red Sox in the playoffs all the time. So we don't, but some do in baseball.
Yeah.
So when a team like the Brewers comes out and accomplishes something, that's cool. I was rooting for them, but they fell 1 game short. And it's funny how when we go through these...
Well, part of the reason is because we made a great trade with him. We got Tyler Thornburg.
Oh, yes. Tyler. Yeah, that was a great trade for Travis Shaw.
Travis Shaw.
Yeah.
It's hit 60 home runs since we traded him.
Yeah.
And Tyler Thornburg can't throw.
Yeah,
So.
not the front office's finest move. But when we go through these lists, it's funny how I think the best term for them is that there are some lost teams, I guess you could call them. As East Coast Red Sox fans, Brewers are a perfect example. There are a lot of really good players on other teams that we just don't see a lot.
Right.
So it's hard to put it in perspective. Like, how many times do you see the Padres play? Never.
So we're not going to see Hopper?
No, we're not going to see Machado play very much.
That's Machado.
Yeah, but we're not going to see Machado play.
How can I
very
forget
much.
that name?
But
Well, actually, we are. We're playing the Padres.
we do play the Padres for 3 games at Fenway.
Machado's coming to Fenway.
Yes, he is. So that'll go over real well with the fans, I'm sure.
I hope they pitch stale against him again.
Yeah, and strike him out again. Well, and there's sort of this, I'm sure you've seen it, there's a picture of Machado striking out to end the series against Sale, and his body sort of makes a K figure.
Yeah, somebody
like he's
wrote
striking
a
him
K
out.
there.
Somebody wrote a K over it and photoshopped it in. So, yeah, he'll have a great welcoming committee when he comes here. I think it's in August, right? It's later in the year.
Yeah, it's later in August.
So, speaking of that, spring training is happening right now.
That's right.
So we thought we'd maybe just sort of discuss a little bit of what the roster will look like for the upcoming season.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we alluded to it before, it's pretty much going to be the same as last year. They only lost 2 key players, Kimbrel and Kelly. That's it. I know Pomeranz didn't return. He was sort of a non-factor last year.
Kinsler.
And Kinsler
was actually picked up because Pedroia wasn't playing.
Yeah, he was a stretch run pickup.
Supposedly, that's a possibility Pedroia could play all these seasons. So.
Well, we'll see. I think that's actually one of the big question marks heading in is how much you're going to get on
The big news in the offseason is going to flip the top 2 batters in the lineup. That's the big news.
Well, I think it makes sense, to be perfectly honest with you.
That's your big news.
Well, Betts is your best hitter. Well, you can make an argument between him and Martinez are the 2 best hitters. You want your best hitters up with men on base. And it makes sense instead of, and this is not a knock on the catchers or Bradley, they're not the offensive players that Benintendi is. Benintendi is going to be on base ahead of Betts a lot more than the bottom of the lineup is. Yeah. And that makes the most sense. And Benintendi also has a little bit of speed. He can sort of be a distraction on the bases. Yeah. I like it. I'm all for it, personally.
And he hits the left field. He sprays the ball around best of anybody on the team.
Yes, he does. Yeah. He's the guy you don't shift on because he can hit the ball anywhere.
His home run production was down last year. I don't think they see him as a home run hitter. They thought he might be.
No. He's a doubles hitter. He's a gap doubles hitter, which is fine.
Right.
Which is fine. The Red Sox came in first last year. They scored the most runs in baseball. So you really can't knock anything in the lineup from last year heading into this year because it's going to be the same cast of characters.
So they've got They've got 3 catchers. They keep saying they're going to get rid of one. I don't know what they mean by get rid of.
Well, they don't have any trade value, so I don't know.
And I don't believe any of them can be sent back again. I think they're all out.
They're all out of options. And here's the thing: since the Red Sox led all of baseball in runs scored, how were the catchers a detriment to the lineup? They weren't. The Red Sox still scored the most runs, even with defensive-minded catchers in the lineup. So I don't see the issue with having the 3 of them rotate in and out.
And none of them are old.
No, they aren't.
Usually a team has one old catcher.
Yeah, no, not these guys. They're all under, I think Leon is 30. I think he turns 30 this year, which for a catcher is not old. Catchers blossom late usually.
And Kika Molina out.
And something to keep in mind, because I've heard some people make an argument, we need a catcher who can hit. There aren't any catchers who can hit in the majors right now. There were 3 catchers in all of baseball who hit 270.
That's right.
It was Real Muto, who just signed with the Phillies. Well, they're not getting him. One was Posey, who's not going anywhere, and he only hit 5 homers doing it in the process, by the way.
He's hurting.
Yeah, he is. And Wilson Ramos was the other who just got traded too, who just signed with the Cubs, I believe it was. You're not getting any of those 3 guys. They're not going anywhere. And I think Ramos was actually kind of a fluke. It was kind of a career
Sanchez with the Yankees.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Sanchez is a terrible catcher.
He really is. He's
a butcher.
That's a future DH or trade bait right there. Oh, in the playoff series, remember, he was just dropping everything and I don't think the pitchers especially like throwing to him. So you're getting 30 homers, but he's also going to hit 230 and be a butcher behind the plate.
And he's real injury prone as well.
Yes, he is.
So we got the 3 catchers. Then we get 2 first basemen.
Yeah, Pearson, Moreland.
They'll split it. And
perfect platoon.
And between them, they'll get 25, 30 homers.
Sure, yeah. Moreland will hit his usual 250, 15 to 20 homers like he does every year, and Pierce will crush lefties when he's in. I think that's a perfect platoon for the 2 of them.
At second base, hopefully Pedroia comes back.
Hopefully.
If he doesn't, they got Nunez and Holt.
Nunez and Holt can trade off and mix and match.
At shortstop, they got Bogarts.
Yep.
No, and same 2 can fill in there.
Sure.
And then at third, Devers. That I think they're expecting big things of. Devers is still 21.
21 years old.
Season, he's 21 years old.
Yeah, and like Wade Boggs before him, as we mentioned, the knock is his defense. Well, he's 21. He's still learning defense. That can get better. The hand-eye coordination, the power, you don't quite teach that. Defense you can work on.
And in the outfield, they got the same 3.
Same 3 guys.
2 won Gold Gloves last year. Benintendi should have. They got a chance to sweep the outfield with Gold Gloves.
And I don't know if you saw, Sports Illustrated about 2 weeks ago came up with their list of the top 100 players in the majors.
Yep.
All 3 outfielders were on that list.
Oh.
And which is amazing because think of how much flack Bradley got. Oh, he can't hit. Well, his defense is so good that he's among the top 100 players in the game right now. So I'll take a little bit of streakiness as a hitter in exchange for the elite
and tell Houston he can't hit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, tell that to the Astros and he absolutely killed. But he's a 235, 240 hitter, streaky, has some power, but he contributes more in the field than he gives away at the plate.
That's right.
And that ties into the whole catcher thing too. Okay, you might be giving up 4 offensive at-bats a game. But think of the elite defense that you get in center field and at catcher. See, the catcher is like the quarterback of the team. I mean, the catcher calls the game, deals with the pitchers, coordinates the defense. He mitigates the running game of the other team. He blocks pitches. He's the quarterback of the team. Any offense you get from him is a bonus. I'll give up 4 at-bats a game in exchange for Leon's fantastic work behind the plate. That's just me.
And correct me if I'm wrong, has Jackie been hurt?
Yes. He had a nagging leg thing last year, I thought.
Yeah.
He had some.
He didn't miss many games, did he?
No, but it was sort of just bothering him the whole year. Well, same thing with Nunez. Nunez has been hurt for 2 years now, and he's finally healthy. Nunez was a speedster when the Red Sox first got him, if you forget, and that aspect was taken away from his game because he had a knee injury 2 years ago, and he never got over it. He was still really hurt this year, and he didn't run a lot. If he can bring some speed, that'd be fantastic. That's another aspect.
And in the outfield, their bonus, of course, is J.D.
Of course.
Because J.D. would like to play the outfield. It's not like when they had Poppy, they had to try to get him in first base and hope he didn't hurt them.
Yeah.
Martinez not going to hurt them.
He doesn't hurt them.
So
in
he can.
right field,
They can
Sure.
always set one outfielder down anytime they want to.
Sure.
And if they do play National League teams, they're not going to be killed because they set Jackie down.
Right, yeah, they set Bradley down, yeah.
Something like that.
Which is amazing. You think the MVP of the ALCS sat for the World Series, which is pretty astounding when you think about it. But that's the way it works sometimes.
And then they're starting pitching that the entire rotation is back.
And
The entire rotation.
not
is
only
back
the
again.
entire rotation, but the fill-in guys are back too.
That's right.
Velasquez and Johnson, the guys you can sort of plug in if somebody's hurt or they have a doubleheader. That whole crew is back. And we talk about more valuable than having stars in your rotation is having depth. And that's what they have.
Yeah.
They have a ton of depth. They have guys who can fill in, and especially in this age of bullpen use. How many times did Johnson and Velasquez start? They'd go 3 or 4 innings. That was it. Call it a day, and they're done. That's great. You need guys like that.
But if you remember at the beginning of last season, they keep calling up guys from Pawtucket because they didn't have 5 guys in the starting rotation.
Right.
Well, now they should.
Now they should. Now they should.
And we've already talked about the relief team.
We talked about the bullpen.
So in the waning minutes here, just predictions are fun to do because anybody can do them.
Yes.
And at the end of the year, you don't lose, unless you put a lot of money on it, you don't lose much. Jake, who would you say will be the biggest surprise as a ball player, as a regular player?
Okay.
And biggest
Pitcher.
I won't say disappointment.
Okay.
For the infield, for the fielders, and for the pitchers. Just make a prediction.
Well, I alluded to my surprise this year. I think the surprise is going to be Nunez because he's healthy. He was a good power speed combo when he was healthy. He played with a hurt knee all last year, and he never showed it. He never complained about it. Dove around like a maniac in the playoffs. But I think if Pedroia can't go, and obviously Pedroia's workload is going to be reduced. I think they'll be happy if they get 110, maybe 120 games out of him. I think Nunez will sort of blossom as filling in that second base when Pedroia can't play. And for the pitchers, this kind of seems like an odd choice because he's always gotten a bad rap. I think Price is going to have a tremendous year. And Price, here's the thing. People would talk about Price as a disappointment. If you look at his numbers, he's been the same with the Red Sox as he was everywhere else in his career. I think the contract sort of is a boondoggle that people don't like that he makes that much money. That doesn't matter with on-field performance. His contract is beside that. I think he's got his wings under him in Boston. He's psyched to come back. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
And now on the negative side.
Well, and I hate to say it because I like this player a real lot. And I think, and it's not so much a disappointment, is that I think people have unrealistic expectations of him. My disappointment is going to be Brock Holt. And here's why. Holt had a career year last year. He really did. Filling in when Pedroia was out. And there are people who think he should be an everyday infielder. He's not. He's a 4 times a week guy who you rotate around the field because he can play pretty much anywhere. But I don't think people shouldn't expect him to be an everyday player. And I think that's why I have him as a disappointment, because I don't think he's going to, if he does fall into that everyday role, he's not going to be what people expect.
Okay, about pitchers now.
We talked about him before. The biggest disappointment for me, I'm sorry, is Thornburg. He's coming off injuries. We've been waiting for him to get healthy, and I know it's only spring training. He's pitched a few times. It looks to me like there's just nothing there. Everything is 90-91 with no movement, and with the Brewers, he had 2 killer years with the Brewers where he was striking guys out. I just can't see him being an important piece of the bullpen at this point. I can't.
I wouldn't count him because I don't think he's ever been important.
Right, that's true. Yeah, good.
Never
point.
has been.
Yeah.
And he's, to me, a disappointment only in what we gave up to get him.
True, yeah. We gave up Shaw.
Okay, well, I picked the player I think will be the biggest improvement is Devers.
Oh, great pick.
I think the way he played in the postseason, totally unfazed by that kind of pressure, was remarkable.
And no fear.
And he's still learning. He's 21. I love the way he hits the ball around to all places, and I think he could be even as much as an MVP candidate this year.
And he hits the ball hard too. If you notice, he doesn't get a lot of weak contact. He strikes out his fair share. Don't get me wrong. But when he hits the ball, he hits
I
it
think
hard.
that will cut down. if you notice, he's one of the few guys that have been playing all the time in spring training.
Yes.
He's been hitting the ball right from the start.
Yeah.
Not going for the big ball, just hitting up the middle.
Hitting up the middle and the other way. Yeah, if they can work on that with him, that's a great pick.
So that would be my pick. My disappointment, I hate to say this, is I think it's Pedroia. I don't think he's going to make it as a regular player. I hope he does.
I hope he does too.
I
really hope he does.
I'm looking through this whole squad. He's the one that, if he fails, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, true. True.
He'll surely give it a go, but let's hope not.
Yeah.
But if that's the only disappointment I can find, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. We are thinking about tiny blemishes on a 108-win team here.
I think it's going to be a big year again for Porcello.
Oh, good.
He now has two solid aces ahead of him.
Yes, he does.
Price has now improved himself to the point where he's an ace. And Sale, as long as he can stay strong,
he's an ace plus.
So Porcello's now down to the third slot. So he's matched up with the number 3 pitchers. Go around through every other team, find their number 3 starter, and he's better than
the number 3.
All of them.
And the thing about Porcello is he is never hurt. He's always solid. Right. I can't remember the last time he missed the start.
Right.
And sort of, I know he has sort of a big contract, but you know what? There's a lot, and when it comes down to it, he's sort of when you average his career out, he's sort of a slightly above average pitcher. But you know what? If you have a guy who gives you 210, 220 innings, slightly above league average with a top offense, there's a ton of value in that. That's a very valuable player to have on your team.
Well, the one I've got for disappointment, and I sure as hell hope this doesn't happen, is Evaldi.
That's a good pick,
because he hasn't proven that he could pitch 170 innings and go through a whole season.
He hasn't.
He had some great moments last year, but 6 innings in one game does not a season make.
Exactly, and I've always said that. Oh, and the off season was, you have to sign Evaldi. Yeah. That was based on about 15 postseason innings that people are crying to bring him back. So, you look at his career, he's been a below-average pitcher for his career before coming to the Sox. I actually probably should have picked Evaldi. That's a really good one.
We're not rooting for this.
No, of course not. Of course not. It's just having realistic expectations. Of all these, they're number 4 guy. So you have to take it as a number 4 guy.
So, Jake, we're running out of time. Give us the trivia answer. Give us the trivia
This is amazing to think about. So who was the only player who won a batting title that never made an all-star team? And we gave you a hint that it was, we kind of gave a hint that it was a Red Sox. The answer is Bill Miller, who won the batting crown in 2003 as the number 8 hitter, I believe, in the lineup. And later, the next year, would have the heroic bat against Rivera to knock in the tying run and start the whole comeback against the Yankees. But Bill Miller never
played in an all-star.
Never made an all-star game, which is crazy when you think about it. But he didn't.
So he's the only one out of 70, 80 years worth.
Yeah. So
folks, remember that April 7th, come see the Red Sox trophy up at the Eagle House, 2:30 to 4:30. And Jake, let's go. Have a great year this year.
2019,
and we'll be back for episode 2 with our Hall of Fame shortstops.
Think of yours too. We want feedback.
See you on, folks.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for watching another outstanding program provided to you by Lunenburg Public Access. We're here to serve the community. Lunenburg Public Access is always looking for volunteers to help record town events, high school sports, and town meetings. Please consider helping us out today. To contact us, you can call 617-763-3018 or email us at lunenburgaccess@gmail.com.